Okay, good evening. It's 6:03, so I will call this meeting to order. Welcome to the school committee meeting of February 26, 2026. This meeting will be conducted in a hybrid format. Kelly Percio will join us remotely tonight, so all votes will be by roll call. We'll have a roll call to confirm we have a quorum. Colleen?
Proudly here.
Wiseman here.
Loomis here.
Hamilton here.
Percio here.
Great. This meeting is open to the public and will be broadcast by ECAT. The school committee has elected to have a public comment period tonight pursuant to our policy to give people the opportunity to share their wishes and ideas. If any members of the public here in person want to make a comment during the public comment period, you'll be invited to do so, and we ask you state your name and address for the record. All remarks should be addressed to the full committee through the chair. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to state their comment, and we will allow for a total of 15 minutes for public comment. The public comment period is not a time for debate or for the school committee to respond to those comments. We welcome you to email us any questions or additional comments. Next item on the agenda is student representative to the school committee update. We do not have that tonight. The next item is minutes, and I'm going to make a motion to move this agenda item to agenda item 6. Do I have a second?
Second, Loomis.
Roll call vote.
Proudly, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Loomis, yes.
Hamilton, yes.
Percio, yes.
Great. Next item on the agenda, interview of superintendent candidate. As a reminder, the school committee appointed members to the Superintendent Advisory Committee at a prior meeting. The advisory committee was tasked with identifying the desired qualities and necessary qualifications for the next superintendent and assessing whether our internal candidate, Assistant Superintendent Chrissy Pruitt, meets these criteria. At the last meeting, the advisory committee reviewed our process, discussed findings, and recommended that the school committee focus our search on Mrs. Pruitt. Tonight, the school committee will interview Mrs. Pruitt. We will start with an overview provided by Human Resources Director Christina DiNapoli. Mrs. Pruitt will deliver a presentation, after which members of the school committee may direct questions to Mrs. Pruitt. Director DiNapoli will serve as the moderator. We will take turns asking questions. Upon conclusion of the question and answer session, school committee members will be able to deliberate on Mrs. Pruitt's candidacy and determine whether to proceed with voting at this meeting or postpone the vote to a subsequent meeting. Director DiNapoli.
Good evening, Chair Wiseman. Good evening, Chair Wiseman, members of the school committee, and members of the community. Tonight, we're pleased to welcome Ms. Pruitt, who currently serves as our Assistant Superintendent, as a candidate for this role. The interview, as Ms. Wiseman said, will begin with Ms. Pruitt providing a presentation that will last approximately 40 minutes. Excuse me. The purpose of the presentation is to provide her with the opportunity to share her vision, leadership philosophy, and priorities for the district. Following the presentation, the school committee will conduct the interview. Each school committee member will have approximately 20 minutes to ask questions. This time includes both asking the question and Ms. Pruitt's response. I will assist with timekeeping to ensure that each member has equitable time and that will remain consistent and fair in our process. I would like to take a moment to review important best practices to guide interviews. The district and the school committee are required to conduct interviews in a manner that is fair, consistent, and compliant with state and federal employment laws, including civil rights laws, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and laws prohibiting discrimination based on protected characteristics. Interview questions must relate directly to the candidate's qualifications, experience, and ability to perform the essential functions of the position. Questions must not directly or indirectly seek information about protected characteristics such as age, race, color, religion, national origin, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, marital or family status, pregnancy, disability, medical conditions, genetic information, military status, or any other characteristic protected by law. Additionally, questions should not inquire about a candidate's need for accommodations, health status, child care arrangements, retirement plans, or any personal matters that are not job-related. The goal of this process is to provide the school committee with meaningful information about the candidate's leadership, judgment, and experience, in readiness to serve as superintendent, while ensuring the process reflects our legal obligations and our commitment to professionalism and equity. I appreciate the school committee's diligence in maintaining these standards. It has been my pleasure to work with Ms. Chairman and the advisory committee in this process. It truly has been a wonderful experience. At this time, I will turn the floor over to Ms. Pruitt for her presentation. Ms. Pruitt, you may begin when you are ready.
Do you want us to go? Sure.
I was giving you a tutorial, but I neglected to. Okay. Good evening, school committee, and thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you my vision and for leading Easton forward. Before I begin, I do want to start off just by sharing a little bit about myself. Although I've been here in the district for 9 years, I think it's really important to put into perspective a little bit of my history so you learn more about me and what experience I bring to the district. So my name is Chrissy Pruitt. I am the assistant superintendent currently for the Easton Public Schools, and this is my 9th year in Easton as assistant superintendent. I started my career as an elementary teacher in the in the Boston Public Schools, where I worked as a two-way bilingual teacher, where the students came and learned in English with me for a week, and then went next door and learned in Spanish. Right away, I was immersed in understanding multilingual learners, and I was immersed in leadership opportunities as well. When I started my career, I began leading the student support team in my school and started quickly into leading professional development around mathematics, which then brought me to my next position in the Boston Public Schools, where I spent 13 years of my educational history in the Boston Public Schools. I was an instructional coach where I worked with 4 elementary schools, and then I was an assistant principal at what ultimately became a turnaround school. So leading change and being a change agent is at my core. I then left Boston after 13 years, and I became a principal in Rockland, where the superintendent asked me to do 2 jobs. He asked me to, number one, at that time, the achievement for the school was assessed through levels and through the MCAS levels. When I took over as principal, we were a level 3 school, and he asked me to raise it to a level 1, which was the highest achievement. We were able to do that together as a team in 2 years. And then the second job he asked me to do was to start free full-day kindergarten for the district, which we were able to do within 3 years. I had the district kindergarten in my building, which was a true treasure. After my years in Rockland, I was an assistant superintendent in Silver Lake, which is Kingston, Halifax, and Plimpton. And I was short-term there because I then found my home here in Easton. And I have been here ever since, and it has been nothing but a wonderful joy to be here. So again, thank you for this opportunity, because this has been 9 years, or actually 28 years now in the making. And I want to start by saying something honestly and clearly. I'm not stepping into something new tonight. I'm stepping forward into work that I have been doing here in this district for 9 years. Work I care deeply about. Work rooted in relationships, and work grounded in systems that support students and educators every day. I know Easton. I know the dedication of our educators. I know the potential of our students. I know the hopes our families carry for their children. I know our strengths, and I also know where we are feeling strain, and that perspective matters. I'm not here to offer abstract vision statements. I'm here to share how I lead with presence, with clarity, with shared responsibility, with unwavering focus on students. My leadership is anchored in one belief: instruction first, people always. Every decision about culture, communication, curriculum, or budget must strengthen what happens in our classrooms. Easton deserves steady leadership, leadership that protects what is strong, leadership that improves what must evolve, leadership that communicates clearly and acts decisively, and leadership that uses equity not as a slogan but as a lens. That is how I will lead Easton forward. This is an important moment for our district. We are balancing cultural fatigue, instructional complexity, financial pressure, and high community expectations all at once. That is real. And I say that with empathy because I see how it feels inside our schools. But I also say it with confidence. Moments like this require leadership that is calm, thoughtful, and steady. We must hold two truths at the same time. We must protect what is strong and strengthen what needs refinement. Stability creates predictability, so educators can focus on teaching and students can focus on learning. Growth requires courage, guided by data, shared leadership, and high expectations. We do not choose between stability and change, we lead both. And when we do that, the outcomes are clear: supported educators and engaged, successful students. That remains our North Star. My superintendent commitments, if you were to choose me as the next superintendent, are not just commitments, they're standards. Student learning, as I just shared, is our North Star for every child in partnership with families. Educators deserve clarity, trust, and meaningful support to do complex work well. Families deserve transparency and consistency, especially during challenging moments. And leadership must be shared because strong systems are built through collective responsibility. Communication must create predictability because predictability builds trust. And equity and engagement are non-negotiable. Let me pause there. Equity, you will see throughout this presentation, does not live as a standalone initiative. It will guide every major decision. For any initiative, policy, or budget discussion, we will ask who benefits, who might be left behind, how will we know, and what will we adjust? Equity must be operational, not aspirational. That is how we ensure that a student's classroom, building, or background never determines quality of instruction they receive. That is leadership with both heart and accountability. But what currently is demanding our attention? Strong leadership names reality honestly, without blame and without avoidance. We are experiencing fatigue. This is not just here in Easton. I talked to my colleagues about this throughout the Commonwealth. There has been strain on trust in some areas. We have too many initiatives competing for attention, and fiscally, we have very little margin for error. Actually, none. Naming that is not a criticism, it's a responsibility. We cannot rebuild morale without focus. We cannot strengthen instruction without coherence. We cannot sustain confidence without disciplined fiscal oversight. These realities don't discourage me. They clarify priorities. And this is exactly when steady, experienced leadership matters most. Leadership that listens carefully, acts deliberately, and keeps students at the center of every decision. How I will lead. This is not a list of priorities. This is how I will lead. 4 interconnected pillars that guide my work: communication, culture and morale, instructional leadership, and strategic fiscal leadership. These are not separate lenses. They are reinforcing systems, and the remainder of my presentation will touch upon each of these more in depth. Clear communication builds trust. Strong cultural supports accountability and belonging. Instructional leadership ensures rigor, coherence, and engagement. And strategic fiscal leadership protects stability and aligns resources with priorities. And through all four runs equity, not as language, but as a lens. When these pillars align, the district feels strong and steady. Educators feel supported and challenged. Families feel informed and respected. Students experience consistent, high-quality learning. Alignment builds coherence. Coherence builds trust. Trust fuels empowerment and engagement. And that is how we move forward, thoughtfully, confidently, and together. To break down the communication a little bit further, I want to share that communication is not just about sending information, it's about building shared understanding. In times of uncertainty, silence creates anxiety, and I don't use that term lightly. Assumptions fill gaps, and that erodes trust. Clarity creates stability. As superintendent, I will lead with a commitment to communication that is proactive, transparent, and purposeful. That means a no surprises governance. It means clear timelines that are published, that are known. It means naming trade-offs honestly, even when they are difficult. It means authentic feedback loops, where people feel heard and see how their input informs decisions. And every major communication will answer 4 essential questions. What's happening? Why now? What does this mean for you? What comes next? And I will constantly add a 5th question. Who is most impacted? Because equity must be embedded not only in decisions, but in how we communicate them. Strong communication does not eliminate challenges, but it creates confidence in how we navigate them. Our communication must be grounded in guiding principles. First, it must be clear and timely. We must use discrete language. We communicate early. We must communicate early before confusion, frustration, or misinformation takes hold. Second, it must be consistent. Whether information comes from me, from a principal, from other district leaders, the core message should align. Mixed messaging creates instability, and alignment builds confidence. Third, it must be purposeful. Every message should have a reason. Are we informing, preparing, deciding, inviting feedback? If we are communicating, it should be intentional and connected to district priorities. And finally, it must be responsive. Communication is not one-directional. There must be clear pathways for questions, feedback, and follow-through. When people understand the why, they can move forward with confidence. And leadership requires differentiation. So one of the most important lessons I've learned is that communication cannot be a one-size-fits-all. Different stakeholders experience our district differently, and they deserve communication that reflects that reality. For our staff, communication must provide clarity and connection in practice. Educators are asking, how does this impact my classroom? What does this mean for students? If we don't answer with clarity, we intentionally create stress. We unintentionally create stress. For families, communication must build reassurance and transparency. Families want to understand not just what decisions are made, but why, and how those decisions support their children. For students, communication should reinforce belonging and agency. Students should feel seen, respected, and included in the life of their schools. For the school committee, communication must ensure oversight without surprises. Proactive clarity strengthens governance and partnerships. And for town officials, communication must support fiscal alignment and shared understanding, particularly in financially complex times. And for our broader community, communication builds confidence. Confidence that leadership is steady, confidence that our schools are strong, confidence that decisions are thoughtful and principled. Meeting people where they are is not simply good communication. It's responsible leadership. And strong communication is not accidental. As superintendent, there will be weekly updates to staff, so no one is wondering what comes next. A monthly superintendent newsletter, so families and community members see both the details and the bigger picture. Regular school committee reports that are proactive and transparent, consistent website and social media updates to ensure accessibility, quarterly in-person forums to create space for conversation with staff, community members, family alike. These opportunities are not just for dissemination of information, but they are for purposeful communication and conversation. This predictable cadence prevents communication from becoming reactive or cross-driven. When people know there is steady flow of information, uncertainty decreases. And when uncertainty decreases, anxiety decreases, and predictability can build trust. Trust stabilizes systems, and stable systems free us to focus on the real work, which is teaching and learning. Beyond frequency, structure matters. So every major communication will answer 4 essential questions, whether we start with a template even if we have to, just to ensure this predictability, that every major communication will answer these 4 essential questions. What's happening? Why now? What does this mean for you? And what comes next? That question, this type of structure reduces ambiguity. When we reduce uncertainty, we build psychological safety. And psychological safety is not a soft concept. It's a prerequisite for strong performance. When educators feel informed and secure, they teach better. When families feel informed and respected, they partner more effectively. And when systems are clear and predictable, high expectations can thrive. That is the power of disciplined communication, and I am ready for that. My next pillar is around culture and morale. Gotta love that picture. One of our many amazing educators. Joy and rigor are not oppositions. In strong schools, they exist together. Joy does not come from lowering expectations. It does not come from doing less. It comes from clarity, purpose, and support. When educators understand priorities, when they know what matters most and what can wait, the work feels focused instead of overwhelming. When educators see the impact of their work in students' engagement and growth, that fuels purpose. And when educators feel trusted and valued, when leadership removes barriers instead of adding them, morale strengthens. Right now, educators are not asking for fewer expectations. They're asking for coherence. They're asking for alignment. They're asking for protection for instructional time. We restore morale not by lowering expectations, but we remove noise and protect what matters most. When we do that, joy returns, and when joy returns, excellence follows. It's built through daily decisions, through what we prioritize, what we protect, and what we reinforce. If we want to strengthen culture, we must move from philosophy to disciplined practice. That begins with focus. We will reduce initiative overload so educators can engage in deep, meaningful work instead of consistently shifting direction. If I have to stand up to Desi, I will. Sorry, Desi. We will protect instructional time because learning deserves sustained attention. We will consistently elevate and celebrate strong practice. What we recognize publicly signals what we value. We will center student engagement in our instructional conversations, asking not only what are we teaching, but how are students experiencing it. And we will ensure educator voice meaningfully shapes decisions, not by a gesture, but as a structural part of my leadership, of our leadership. This is a consistent follow-through. Culture strengthens when leadership is predictable, present, and purposeful. That is how we rebuild energy and sustain excellence. Visibility is not performative, it's foundational. And for those of you that know me, it is something that is completely at my core. Leadership cannot live only in meetings, memos, or reports. It must be present where teaching and learning happen. I will be in classrooms regularly, not as compliance, not as inspection, but as a partnership. My presence is about understanding instruction firsthand, supporting principals and educators, and reinforcing shared expectations. I will publicly recognize strong instruction and effective practice. What we elevate becomes what we normalize. And I will listen carefully and respond thoughtfully. Visible leadership is not only about being seen, it's about being accessible and responsive. Presence signals priorities. When leaders are consistently visible in learning spaces, expectations become clearer. Conversations become grounded and practiced, and trust grows. Visible leadership reinforces what matters most in the district: students and learning. And when culture is strong, we see the difference in classrooms. Educators feel supported. They are clear about expectations. They know what matters and what excellence looks like. Across buildings, expectations are consistent. Students are not navigating different standards depending on where they are. They experience coherence. And most importantly, students experience engaging, challenging lessons. They are thinking deeply, they are participating, and they are growing. We do not chase rigor. We build the conditions where it thrives. And when clarity, support, and alignment are in place, high-quality instruction becomes the norm, not the exception. That is the impact of strong culture on teaching and learning, and one that I will continue to foster. My third pillar gets into my instructional leadership overview, where it is important to note that district leaders must be instructional leaders, all of us. Improvement does not happen from the central office alone. It happens when leaders are actively connected to classrooms. That means, as stated previously, being visible in schools. It means using evidence from instruction, not assumptions, to guide decisions. It means being aligned. It means building aligned systems so expectations are coherent across buildings. And it means distributing leadership intentionally, empowering principals, instructional coaches, department heads, and educators to shape and sustain improvement. Instructional coherence is equity. A student's building or classroom should never determine the quality of instruction they receive. Students deserve consistent expectations and engaging learning experiences while still honoring the strengths and context of each school. That balance, coherence with responsiveness, is strong district leadership. Our instructional work rests on these core principles. First, high expectations for all students, without exception. Second, cultural responsive teaching that affirms identity and fosters belonging. Differentiated instruction that recognizes each learner's strengths and areas for growth. Data-informed decision-making that guides improvement and measures progress honestly. Inclusive environments where every student feels safe, valued, and respected. And finally, aligned professional development that supports educators in strengthening practice over time. These are not isolated commitments. They form a coherent instructional focus and foundation across the district. When these principles are aligned, instruction becomes purposeful, equitable, and consistent. And these are the principles that I will be focusing on. Through strategies like UDL, Universal Design for Learning, multi-tiered systems of support, individualized learning, through our district curriculum accommodation plan, equitable resource allocation, community engagement, they're not standalone programs, they're system commitments. They ensure instruction is accessible, responsive, and rigorous. They ensure that students receive the support they need without lowering expectations. Equity lives in the classroom experience, and student engagement is how we measure success. We should consistently ask ourselves, do students feel known? Do they feel challenged? Do they feel supported? Every day in every classroom. If the answer is yes, then we're doing this work well. And if it's not, if the answer is no, it's our responsibility to adjust, because that is what our instructional leadership requires. And my last pillar is strategic fiscal leadership. And finance is not separate from instruction. It is instructional leadership. Budget reflects priorities. Every allocation signals what we value and what we are willing to protect. Strategic fiscal leadership requires discipline. It requires transparency. It requires anticipating risk rather than reacting to crisis. And above all, it requires alignment to student learning. There will be no surprises. There will be no shortfalls. Every dollar must be tied directly to improving student experience and outcomes. Strong fiscal stewardship does more than balance numbers. It builds trust, it creates stability, and it ensures we can sustain excellence over time. And strong fiscal leadership begins with partnership. Our relationship with the Town of Easton must continue to be collaborative, transparent, and grounded in shared understanding. We have a very good working relationship with the town, and that must continue. Fiscal alignment does not happen at budget vote time. It happens months earlier through proactive dialogue and clearly communicated assumptions. It also requires legislative advocacy, state funding formulas. I was on a call, Joe and I were on a call this morning for 90 minutes listening to Chapter 70. Special education reimbursement and unfunded mandates directly affect our district stability. As superintendent, I will ensure Easton's needs are represented at the state level because advocacy is a part of protecting our students locally. Fiscal leadership extends beyond spreadsheets. It's about building alignment and anticipating impact before challenges escalate. Who gains? Who loses? What gaps might widen? Budgets are moral documents, and our financial decisions must reflect our commitment to every student, especially those who rely on our systems most. Budget development must be collaborative and structured. Here I've put together a budget development timeline. This is from my experience, also through some of the research that I've done. It means that we must be setting clear priorities and guardrails early in the process. It means engaging principals, instructional leadership teams, department leaders, representative advisory groups before decisions are finalized. It means sharing draft budgets with explanation, not just numbers, so stakeholders understand trade-offs and rationale. When people understand how decisions are shaped, even difficult decisions feel grounded and principled. It is not reactive budgeting. It is disciplined, thoughtful planning aligned to students' needs. Throughout this timeline, at each portion, there will be a budget memo that goes out to the district as well, saying where we are with the current process of the budget, in the current process of building the budget. And then what is my role as the superintendent? To provide monthly oversight and monitoring. So fiscal discipline happens month by month, not at year end. Each month, I will meet with the director of finance to review expenditures against the approved budget, confirming projections and identifying emerging risks early. We will monitor staffing changes with the director of human resources and our director of special services, enrollment shifts, special education costs, transportation pressures, and other early warning indicators. Not to alarm, but to act early. Strong oversight prevents surprises, and predictability strengthens confidence across the district and community. Stability is not accidental. It is built through disciplined attention and steady leadership. Every budget involves choices, and that is why documentation matters. This is just a sample. It says sample because I want to check in with my director of finance to see if this is accurate, of a sample of a monthly budget oversight checklist. And it's important to note that, like I said, documentation matters. We'll maintain decision logs, process memos that clarify outline adjustments, trade-offs considered, and rationale tied directly to students' need and strategic priorities. If reductions are required, we'll ask hard but necessary questions. Who gains? Who loses? What gaps might widen? And as stated previously, budgets are moral documents. They reflect our values in action. Fiscal leadership done well does not simply balance numbers. It protects opportunity, and it ensures that our highest expectations for students are backed by disciplined, principled decisions. At the heart of my leadership is clarity. Clarity of purpose, clarity of priorities, clarity about what matters most, our students. Leadership at this level is not about personality, although I do have a large one. It is about creating systems where people can thrive. It is about shared responsibility. No superintendent leads alone. Strong districts are built through distributed leadership. Principals, teacher leaders, support staff, families, community partners, all around a common purpose. It is about student-centered decision-making. Every initiative, every communication, every budget choice, every structural adjustment. Each must answer one question: how does this improve the experience of students in classrooms? When we communicate with purpose, we reduce uncertainty and we build trust. When we lead visibly, we reinforce expectations and elevate strong practice. When we steward resources strategically, we protect stability and align every dollar to learning. When those systems work together, we do more than manage. We strengthen trust across the community. We elevate the daily work of teaching and learning. We create the conditions where every student in every classroom, in every building, can thrive. Easton needs steady, clear, equity-driven leadership that protects what is strong and strengthens what must evolve. I am ready. I have goosebumps. I feel like I'm going to cry. I am ready to serve Easton as superintendent with humility, because leadership is service, with steadiness, because our educators and families deserve predictability, with confidence, because I know this district. I know what strong systems look like. And together, we can lead Easton forward. Together, we can. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Pruitt. Director DiNapoli, you want to go over your time system with us before we get started?
Certainly. Chair Wiseman, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pruitt, for that presentation. I hope that provided the school committee with the information to begin the interview process. Again, each school committee member will have approximately 20 minutes in total to present their questions. Be mindful and thoughtful that we have to stick to that time frame, and that is a total. We will go in order, so we will have the questions on a rotating basis. Again, so if you have questions organized, if you have 4 questions, that's 5 minutes to ask the question and to hear Ms. Pruitt's response. Is everybody ready to begin? We're going to start with.
Actually, if you don't mind, Jim, we're going to start with Kelly.
Okay.
Since she has more of a limited time.
Should I stay up there, do you think?
Wherever you feel better.
I'll start there.
Kelly, you want to start?
Sure, thank you. So thank you for the presentation. It was very thorough, and it is very clear in terms of both your vision and your passion for the role. So my first question for you is just to synthesize some of what you shared. Can you just state sort of 3 to 5 ways in which the district itself will feel the evolution of your role, and it will feel different to them when you are superintendent?
Okay, it's a great question. So one of the things that I did leave out in my introduction of myself is I'm a doctoral student right now. I defend on March 19th, so I'm coming to the end of that. Throughout this process, my dissertation is actually based on sustaining change through distributed leadership. And I've done a lot of research, both in literature, but also in an actual study in a district about what distributed leadership truly is, and how it can be, and how it's successful. And one of the things that I picked up on a lot, and it's a part of my findings as I had submitted my draft for my dissertation already, is the need for systems, coherent systems, and aligned communication, expectations, priorities, where there is predictability. So as I stated throughout the presentation, you'll see aligned systems more in place. You will see communication systemized, and there will be more predictability with those structures.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Jim?
Just to confirm, Director Dapley, we are taking turns as a group, not going through. Okay. Just before I keep hogging the floor, I wanted to make sure. My second question for you, I'm a data person.
Kelly,
So yeah.
sorry, we're going to take turns going down the line.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I originally thought and then got confused. I will stop asking that.
That's okay. Go ahead, Jim.
All right. Mrs. Brewer, thank you so much for your presentation. I want to be mindful of my time. So you identify fatigue, loss of joy, and erosion of trust as core realities. It was on slide 4. And emphasize restoring joy while maintaining high expectations on slide 11.
Mhm.
It's a bit of a two-parter, if that's okay, but
Sure.
how will you assess and track staff morale? And if staff morale does not improve after your first year, what would you assume you might have missed?
So tracking morale is it's data, right? It's gathering data and seeing, having surveys going out to staff, having meetings with staff, hearing from staff regularly. I do believe that some of our principals, and some of them that are here, that solicit those responses from their staff have a good pulse of what's going on in their buildings. Right now, I know that there's distrust with, and I say this as a whole within the system of the world with Google Forms. And even though it's anonymous, people think that they might be able to, that people might be able to track their responses. So I will try and find a way to gather feedback in an anonymous manner, where people, whether it's through a different survey platform, so that I can make sure that people are confident with sharing their responses. The other thing too, the way that I track it is when I put out surveys, I also have an option of their name, and when they do put their name down, I'm able to follow up with them. And I think that being able to have that circle, that full circle of follow through, and being able to close that communication loop will help build culture. But through surveys, through being visible in buildings and present in buildings, is definitely something, my major way of gathering that data and hearing from the community. What I would miss is, if it wasn't that way, is the structures. The structures weren't in place. And I think that having strong structures in place so that, and timelines, following through with what those timelines would be. And if something is not, if I say I'm going to do something and it's not done, having an explanation of why it's not done, not just letting it be. I think that that's going to be extremely important. I think that was asked in one of the questions by the advisory committee. They said they asked me, or they actually stressed to me how important that would be, that if I can't follow through with something, having an explanation and a very honest explanation.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Yes.
So my first question is, conversations about diversity and inclusion can bring a wide range of viewpoints. How would you navigate these discussions in a way that centers students while keeping the community connected, but also making sure that our most vulnerable students are always included and thriving academically and socially?
So, as I discussed in the presentation, equity is a lens. It's almost like a conceptual framework for me. It is not a standalone initiative. It should be woven into everything that we do. And by asking questions such as, who does this impact the most? You know, everything that we do, who does this impact the most? Who might it harm? Who would be left out? I think those are guiding questions that would help us ensure that, that we are making equitable decisions at all times.
Thank you.
Hi. I know you and I have talked about this a lot. What strategies will you use to support students who feel unsafe attending school due to how they are treated by others? And additionally, how will you use data on student absenteeism to identify patterns that may indicate students experiencing these concerns, but who may be reluctant to speak up?
So that's a great question, and I hear data and I get excited. And Kelly, you had mentioned data, and I can't wait for your question. I love data, and you know, student absenteeism is there's so much to that story, right?
Yeah.
At elementary school, if a student is absent a lot, it could be because of a challenge that a family's going through. And how do we utilize that information to provide the families with support that they need? If student absenteeism at the high school or middle school, it could be because the student doesn't feel safe coming to school. And what supports are we putting in place so that those students can feel supported? We have an excellent adjustment counselors in our district, excellent guidance team, excellent school psychologists. And it's important to be able to tap into those resources to provide those individualized plans that might be needed in order to ensure that every student's need is met. No one student is the same, so it does have to, you can't put a particular structure in place that is a one-size-fits-all for everyone. So there might be individual plans needed to target specific needs for students.
Colleen?
Again, thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful. I wanted to focus in on your communication pillar, and I actually have a scenario for you.
Yes.
And I'm going to say for anyone, it is completely hypothetical.
Yes.
I made it up. I just kind of want to see what your actual procedure would look like in practice. So let's just say that you are the superintendent. It's the close of business, and a concern is brought to you about a serious concern is brought to you about an Easton Public Schools employee. So before you can investigate about this allegation, it completely blows up on social media. So overnight, blows up on social media. Next morning, you have parents calling. There are parents on your doorstep. Staff is concerned, and there is a news truck that has rolled up to the campus. So how would you proceed?
I would call our public relations firm. No, first of all, if a scenario were to happen, for a staff member, first of all, our director of HR would be pulled in immediately. I mean, she is responsible for our staff and ensuring that all our systems and procedures are in place. We do have to investigate the manner. We do have to find out what actually happened, what the allegation might be. So we may need some time in order to figure that out. If the news truck is there, we have to put them off. We won't be able to speak to them until we have further information, which our public relations firm will be able to assist us with. We also have to include our attorneys, ensure that our attorneys are actively involved in the process so that we have the right guidelines and guidance of what we need to do. So there definitely would need to be communication out to families and to staff to ensure that we're investigating. So I'm not going through the timeline of it all, so I apologize. I'm not going through like step by step. I'm thinking right now like everything that needs to get done and then organize, right? What's first, second, and next. Because communication, it's on the news, so we need to have some sort of communication out to families, depending on what the situation is, saying that we are actively investigating, so that they're aware that we know that there's an issue. So that's kind of the structure. Again, thinking about the communication structure, like if I think about the 4 questions what's happening, what, God bless you, why now, What does this mean for families, for educators, for students? And then what comes next, so that they have a predictability of like what to expect. When will I communicate again with them? But also ensuring that behind the scenes, what's happening and what's going on, we're getting to the root of that with, of course, our wonderful director of HR. Yep.
Kelly?
Thank you. So I think a couple of my points around data were touched on, so maybe this will be an easier one. How can we use data as a team to measure the objectives that you have for the next year or so and ensure that you're staying on track with them?
So part of my entry plan will be to create action steps for this presentation. And in a year from now, the Superintendent Search Advisory Committee, I already suggested maybe we have a date to hold me accountable to that, but also to the school committee, of course, as well. But I do think that having check-ins throughout the year and creating a plan for when will these things be in place. My brain is already racing as soon as my dissertation is done about how to create these, to ensure that the systems are created and the structures are created so that it's all communicated, and how to bring the team together in order to do all of that purposefully. So I think that having those timelines will be really important, and having those check-ins, and then making adjustments if needed. So if we have to make adjustments because, say for example, the emails are going out weekly, and we're noticing the staff are going, you know what, Chrissy, it's a little much, we don't need it that much. Maybe I'll adjust. Or they say, we actually want more communication, then I will adjust. But those are the things I'm going to need that feedback from all of our stakeholders in order to ensure that the goals are being met.
On slide 4, you highlight inconsistent student experience across buildings and outline core principles like culturally responsive teaching, UDL, differentiated instruction, and data-informed decision-making. What does instructional coherence mean in concrete terms?
Yeah.
Like if I walked into into 3 elementary classrooms teaching the same standard, what would I expect to see?
So it's great because when we pulled all 3 PK-2 schools together, we really got to practice what that instructional coherence, mainstreaming that instructional coherence looked like. And being able to draw on that experience helps us a lot. What we have also done in the past year or 2 is created instructional opportunities for teachers to go into each other's classrooms from one school to the next. So for example, our science professional development and No Adam professional development is called CHAMPS. Our 3rd grade teachers are going into kindergarten classrooms. Our 1st grade teachers are going into classrooms. We also have our literacy coaches that have done walkthroughs with teachers at all different schools. So they're seeing what teaching and learning looks like in each other's buildings and being able to have those conversations. When we write our units, and have our instructional expectations, a principal, a teacher leader, an instructional coach a department head can go into those classrooms and see similar experiences, not the same, similar experiences through the content that's being taught. I've experienced that in my walkthroughs with principals, where I know I'm looking at Sam, who's sitting in the audience here, and we always get so excited. We're like, we just saw that lesson, and it's the same thing, and oh my gosh, they're doing the same thing, but it has a different twist to it because it's a different teacher. But it's still not lowered expectations by any means. It just has somebody's personality flair on it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Lauren?
What role do you believe the arts play in a strong public school system? And how would you ensure these programs continue to flourish despite financial shortfalls? And with that, how can we ensure that it's accessible to all students regardless of their background or circumstance?
It breaks my heart when I see districts that continue to cut the arts in financial difficulties, because the arts are something that so many kids rely on, and it provides them an opportunity to show their strength that they need. But it also, just not only for students that thrive in the arts, it also provides a different perspective for students who might not experience, might not have the arts mindset, to provide educational opportunities in various ways. So Lauren, I think I was talking to you about how many times I've used my flute lessons from when I took flute as an elementary student just to read music, and having those experiences and opportunities, how they relate from one subject matter to another, and how important it is to have those opportunities, because it builds that background knowledge. And that background knowledge is so important when we are looking at sustained knowledge throughout the educational process. So I think that, you know, in our high school, we are working towards looking at the revamping of the graduation requirements, moving towards Mass Core, having our students have larger exposures to art is extremely important. The arts is extremely important. Yeah, and it's definitely a priority.
Can you please share your strategy for addressing staff burnout and outline how you plan to evaluate the effectiveness of these efforts?
Okay. So, staff burnout. Teaching's hard. You know, it really is, and it's changed. It has changed a lot. Demands even from, I mean, I was in the classroom a very long time ago, but even from when I started here in Easton, the demands have changed. And I think it's important that in order to address burnout, teachers need to know that I'm going to say teachers, when I say teachers, I mean all staff. They need to know that they're valued, and they need to know that they're heard. And that is, in those opportunities, and when they're valued and heard, and in order to, my mind is racing right now. In order to ensure that they're valued and heard, there has to be that feedback loop at the end. So there has to be that closure. If, you know, I was speaking with a staff member, and I said to her, I'm going to work on this for you, and I will call you on this day to make sure, and even if I'm not done, if I don't have the answer, you'll know where I stand in the process. I think that's really important, because once you walk away from a process, or once you walk away from something and you don't hear, or an educator doesn't hear what happened or what the response is, it seems like nothing happened. And that just adds to the negative morale that's out there, which leads to burnout. I think it's important that, and to acknowledge it, you know, yeah, these are trying times. But you know, ensuring, by the way, our custodians are amazing, right? The dig out that they did. And I was with a custodian today, and he was looking out at lunch and you know, telling me how exhausted he was, understandably. And I said, but look at why you did this. And he just had the biggest smile on his face. And I said, this is purpose. This is the reason why we are here. And your exhaustion, which is noted, but look at what you've provided. Look at the opportunity you provided for our kids. And you know, these are important moments and important to highlight. It's also important to lift our educators so that they know that what they are doing is valued.
Thank you.
So when gave your presentation, I really enjoyed the part, your instructional pillar, and under your core principles, you actually listed a lot of really great instructional strategies that are important for all kids. But thinking a little bit more about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I love that you said that it is operational and not aspirational. But for someone who may not be an educator, can you talk a little bit about what diversity, equity, and inclusion in all its many forms will look and feel like for not only for students, for staff, curriculum, and then for folks in the community?
Sure.
And and then would you support hiring another director of DEI?
Well, our budgets are very tight right now, so we have to really look at if our budgets are available for positions, incorporating positions. We have to look at where the need in the district is at the moment. There's always a need for a particular individual to pay attention solely to equity, diversity, and inclusion. Absolutely. However, I do think that it needs to also be embedded in everything that we do. And so we need to have the professional development to ensure that every person in the district understands and has that as part of their core. In our hiring practices, we need to ensure that we are hiring people where equity and inclusion is at their core. And when I mean equity inclusion, it's really important to note that all of our students need to be able to see themselves in their school, in their curriculum, in what they're learning. So ensuring that they have opportunities to identify with the curriculum that's before them. Being able to say that they understand or connect is extremely important. For staff, they also need to know that what they're experiencing and their experiences that they bring are very important to the community, to building the community. A community is not set in stone. It is contributed to by the people involved in the community. And how does that community continue to grow? We have, Easton Public Schools, but Easton Public Schools continues to change. And how are we embracing that change and ensuring that everybody is welcome? Yeah.
Kelly? Did we lose Kelly? Kelly, are you there?
Apologies. Oop, my video wasn't working. I'll go without video. Oh, there we go. My next question is around the student-centered experience. So you've spoken a lot about that. How does the district feel different to students under your leadership?
So, I don't want to jump ahead, so I'm trying to pull back a little. We are moving in a direction where our students are beginning to experience and make the connections to their learning outside of the school walls. I think that we need to continue to grow that. Experiential learning is extremely powerful, and it's also very important to engage students and sustain student engagement. It also helps promote that belonging in a community. And so I think that through more opportunities for experiential learning, we will be able to, and we can even look at that down all the way through preschool, through grade 12. I think that we will have more opportunity. I would like to have more opportunities for our students to be able to experience learning outside of the school walls, for sure. I also know that there's a lot of opportunities specifically at the high school for students to express their voice to administrators at the high school. I'd like to be a part of that as well. Have our district leadership really hear more from the students. I think one of the most valuable things that I've experienced here in Easton is having the students on the school committee and how they go to each of the individual schools and talk to the students. I think that that's really important to hear from them. I definitely want to make sure that continues, not just for them to report to school committee, but for all of us to hear their perspective as well.
Jim?
Yeah, I keep forgetting. How will you ensure that staffing decisions remain aligned to instructional priorities rather than potential political pressures?
Well, so we have our strategic plan, and our strategic plan should be what's driving all of our initiatives. So that's what I said when we talked about our communication plan, is that every time we communicate, it should be directly impacted or related back to what our strategic plan is. So if If it's a political pressure that's not aligned to our strategic plan, then that would not take priority. What would take priority is how it is affected by our strategic plan.
So as you know, there are always many initiatives that are going to compete for your attention, but also being present in the schools matter. So how would you balance your time in the classrooms with the broader responsibilities of leading the district?
One of my mentors said to me, start each day in a school. Don't go to your office. The second you go to your office, you're doomed. So I know in my doctoral work, I've actually, for a district leader, I created a plan for the district leader in how to ensure that they're in schools every day. And so we created that plan for the district leader. I really should follow up with them and see if they were able to come. I've been talking with various district leaders about how to ensure that their time in schools is protected, and that is a commitment of mine. I've shared this story with a few people, but one of my professors, a superintendent in one of the districts in Massachusetts, spends a week in a school. He brings his administrative assistant. He has meetings in the school, and he's there during opening, during during dismissal, during lunch, everything. So he gets like a full week in a school to see the operations while still doing what they need to do. I'm talking to Sam because I'm at Blanche James, so I see Sam a lot. But I was talking to him like, so, because even though my office is in Blanche James, I still would move over to Blanche James. And I think that's important because you see how the operations are each day. You see what the struggles may be each day. You see what the celebrations are each day. Those are great opportunities to ensure that you're really getting a pulse. During COVID, when we had our hybrid learning, I was able to put out a schedule and asked people if they wanted me in their classrooms to come see what it was like. And I was able to do that, which was extremely, extremely helpful. I had a conversation with a teacher recently about how, even though I've been in her classroom before, with walking through with principals, she said, why don't you come in and lead a group? And absolutely. One of the school administrative assistants reached out to me once to go fill in for a teacher so she could go attend a meeting because they were short on subs, and I did that. I understand that, as assistant superintendent, I may not have the urgent needs that the superintendent has, but it's still part of an important part of what I do, and I think that drawing on experiences from my colleagues as well, and really making sure that is a priority is something that it's just going to have to be. That's a non-negotiable.
Thank you.
So this is a little bit of a two-parter. With our limited budget and staff, how will you ensure students on IEPs receive required services and make progress toward their goals, and also provide enrichment for accelerated learners?
So the IEPs, that's law abiding, so we have to provide those services, and the budget has to reflect that, right? So if we have a higher caseload at a particular grade level, or students with needs coming into the district, for example, we have to set staffing, to service those students. We also, for enrichment purposes, I'm really proud of a lot of the curriculum work that our staff have been doing under the direction of Ann Weintraub, our director of curriculum, and creating the units. They're providing those opportunities really embedded in the units for enrichment, and they're targeting that as a supplement. And so, but also through the programming that we're doing and the instructional coaching that we have. Our instructional coaches are able to go into classrooms and offer suggestions to teachers, say, this kid, not just because the kid is struggling, but because they're excelling, what enrichment can I give them? What can we do? And so having those opportunities where we are utilizing our staff to provide more think tanks, for lack of a better word, to develop and promote and create those enrichment opportunities. It's critical. There's no reason why the Easton Public Schools should not be in double digits and exceeding on MCAS. There's no reason, in my opinion. We meet expectations. We need to exceed them. And we have the kids, our kids are smart kids, and they have the potential to do that. And it's about providing them the targeted support that they need. I've sat in actually we had a data presentation here from our instructional coaches about how they're targeting, because what's happening in the classroom may not necessarily be transferring over to an assessment, but that's, it's not about assessment data, for example. It's more about what are they actually doing within the classroom. And so I wouldn't just measure through MCAS or through our standardized tests. I'd also measure through portfolios of work. And their success after graduation, right? Yep.
So during your presentation, you talked a lot about distributed leadership and the importance of that. So could you talk to us a little bit about how you build capacity within the district to develop teacher leaders, what currently exists, and then how would you expand upon that?
We have, right now our model is we have department heads, we have instructional coaches, we had curriculum leaders, and we don't necessarily have the stipend for that right now because of our budget. However, those leaders still exist, right? So with distributed leadership, it's important that there's communication structures that are created so that when a message is shared or an initiative is worked on, the same message is happening. For example, if I'm going over something with our executive team, or our director of HR is going over, I'm just looking at her because she's here. Our director of HR is going over something with our executive team. If that message needs to go down, move on to the schools, what is the message that needs to be carried out? What are those 4 questions that can consistently be asked and answered so that there's predictability in what needs to be known? I think it's extremely important that the systems are in place so that the message is the same. And that when we do that and empower our principals to go forward and lead the work, who then empower the instructional coaches and our department heads, who then go in and work with our teachers, that's how that distributed leadership plays out. And it's through trust. There is so much trust involved in distributed leadership, and being able to take risks, and staff feeling comfortable to take risks, knowing that if they fail, it's okay because they're taking risks and they're going to just use that as an adjustment, or because sometimes the risks that they take, it's very rewarding. And so it's really important that the leadership is not me just saying go do something. It's all of us together working towards a common goal, and then what does that look like as it is spread out.
Kelly?
And having the systems and structures in place to do that.
Go ahead, Kelly.
This is my last question. I will switch to off camera after this. I apologize to all, and to you, Spruitt, but I am unfortunately in California and have to go to the airport. It was important to me to be here with you tonight, though, as much as possible.
Thank you.
My question for you is that you mentioned togetherness. You spoke about togetherness and the importance of it. We are all in this together. And it is obviously a difficult time for the district in certain ways, financially and in terms of some of the strain that everyone's been feeling with everything that's been going on. What do you need from us as a school committee, from families, and from staff in order to help you be successful in this role?
Accountability. I need to be, I would ask, and it's not for me, it's for our students. I would ask you all to hold my work, hold our work accountable. You know, when you asked about, you know, how am I going to know that this is successful, is really having those opportunities to review those with you, or in my memos to you, because I do plan on having memos to school committee regularly. An update in that about my progress, about our progress as a district moving forward. And I think that accountability is going to be crucial. And not just from school committee, but from families. I would expect families to have high expectations for me, and I intend to meet them.
So Kelly, do you have to sign off now, or can you stay on for a little while longer?
I will transition to my device, so you will see me disappear and reappear, but I can stay on while in transit to the airport.
Okay, thanks. Jim?
Sure. What is the hardest leadership lesson you've learned in the past 5 years?
Oh, 5 years, okay. Well, wait, does that take COVID out of it? Yeah. The hardest leadership lesson that I've learned is how to balance concern with keeping our eyes on the most important thing, and how to merge those together. I think, you know, we are in a tough time in education. And it's not, I know I keep saying this, but it's not just here in Easton. It's so many places. It's all throughout Massachusetts. It's all throughout the country. Our kids their needs are greater, but we also need to adapt. And so how do we hear the concern, right, that our students have such great need, but balancing with, okay, well, there's changes that we need to make as an institution of education. That, I think, has been my biggest challenge, thinking about how do we get to that change. I think that's why I decided on my dissertation, was because how do we get to sustain change by getting everyone on board? But we have to do it quickly. There's a sense of urgency here. And I think that has been my biggest challenge thus far. I'm still in it. When I have the answer, I'll write the book, and then we'll all take the show on the road.
My turn. We have been hearing from families, students, and through the Youth Health Survey that there are a lot of students who feel that they do not belong. Mm-hmm. I know this requires several approaches, but what steps would you take?
Mm-hmm. So I think one of the important things is what is going right? Like the students that do feel like they belong, why is it that they feel belong? Why is it that they feel like they belong? Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to focus on what is going right to understand what might be going wrong. And I think that, you know, having more opportunities for students to express that is going to be really critical. I also know that, like the middle school, for example, they struggle with this a lot. It's also developmentally, there's a book that I read. It's called Learning How to Kiss a Frog. And I loved it because it's like this thick, right? I'm a math person. But it talks about the developmental stages of a student going through middle school and how they grow more in the short time in middle school than the only largest time that they grow is their first year of life. And so how do we provide those opportunities for our middle school students in particular, so that to feel like they belong and that they have opportunities? We are doing a lot with our middle school staff are in the trenches trying to build relationships. But what are those opportunities that when our students are connected to school, that's when they feel like they belong more. So what are opportunities? How do we get them more connected to their environments?
Thank you.
Yep.
So my question kind of follows up on a couple of different questions. So you talked about a priority of being in the school buildings, which I agree. I was reading about it, and it says, you know, being there really allows for real-time observation of the school environment and fosters stronger relationships with staff and students.
Yeah.
I think that's crucial.
Right.
But taking that into account and all of your other obligations, to manage your daily challenges, will you establish criteria for prioritizations such as urgency or impact on students and staff? And how will you assess the resources needed for each issue and whether it should be delegated?
So, I mean, like I said, a superintendent can't lead alone. And the team around, the team that we have in place is remarkable. I know that there are many times where, you know, our current superintendent will say, you know, make sure that, you know, we'll be able to delegate and everything's taken care of very effectively. I think that is just a best practice, being able to make those delegations. However, what is priority to, everything is a priority, right? There's and how you respond to each individual priority, needs to be fueled by the impact that it may have. So, for example, a parent sharing their concern for their child in that moment, that's extremely important to that parent. But I can't just answer that parent. I have to go to the principal. I have to say what happened, what's going on, and talk to the you know, if my executive administrative assistant takes the call to say, you know, did you talk to, what is the chain of command? Did you talk to the principal? Did you talk to the teacher? To make sure that I'm not just taking that away from the opportunity for the person to respond appropriately. So that, you know, it's looking at it from a big perspective as far as, you know, where it's situational, right? And so I'm just thinking of all the different things that come through our office. If there's something that is mandated immediately by our attorneys, obviously that would take priority. But you really have to think about, can it wait? Can it wait an hour? Can it wait an hour so I can get to this classroom to see this work? If it can, great. If it can't, then that's okay too. And being able to have those communications and that dialogue with staff so that they understand that, and being able to say, I had to take care of this, so I wasn't able to come, but let me come at this other time instead. Situations like that. But I do think that we have an excellent team here in Easton who are being able to delegate to their departments is definitely a strength here. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
So if you were to be appointed superintendent, that would then mean that your current job would be open. So what qualities would you be seeking in an assistant superintendent for Easton Public Schools?
The qualities that I would be seeking is someone who is instructionally driven, someone who is detail-oriented, someone who is able to build relationships, and who have components of trust that they are able to that people trust them, and that's through relationships. I also think that the assistant superintendent needs to be calm. I think that they need to really be a team player and ensure that at the core, equity, inclusivity, and diversity are at their core.
You good?
We are good. Does anyone, oh, I don't have this on. We are good, but does anyone have any additional questions?
Any last questions, anyone?
I actually do have one
Okay, go
last
ahead.
question. Okay, so this is my last question. This has to do with belonging. So knowing some students' sense of belonging occurs at school, but could be outside of the walls of the four walls of a classroom. How, as superintendent, how would you ensure that that opportunities are accessible to students who may face financial or other barriers?
We have that in place already. So students that financially might not be able to afford a program, we do have things in place for them. So that will continue, of course. But I think it's important that families know that those structures exist. And so, I mean, it is communicated, but that's also where our support staff in our schools are wonderful, where they know and have a sense and a pulse of what needs students may have. We're also working on that through our whole child review process with our student support teams. Our whole child review process, we are creating or have created a bank of resources for families so that they know ways to access things that students might need, and we're there guiding them through that. So those practices will continue, but if you think, if there's any feedback that families are not able to access that, I definitely will need to know, because we'll need to revamp that for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, so I know it's awkward to have this discussion right now in front of Mrs. Pruitt, but thank you to the open meeting law, this is how we have to do it. So,
Would you like me to leave?
no.
Okay.
So, does anyone want to start? Kelly, I don't know if you're still on. All right, we'll wait and see if we hear from her. Does anyone want to add something, talk about Mrs. Pruitt's candidacy?
She's back.
Is she-
She's here. I just had to promote her to panelist.
Does anyone want to start? Okay. So
She's rejoining us.
Okay. So I haven't written anything down because I wanted to do everything, obviously. I've known Mrs. Pruitt for 9 years. I've worked with her in a different capacity, certainly, as assistant superintendent. I've never had any question about her instructional leadership because I've seen what she's done with professional development and with the curriculum, with the UBD, her presentations to school committee over the years about all the work the curriculum committee has done. I was really interested to hear how she would focus on equity and inclusion and diversity. I was interested in hearing how she would address some of the trust issues that are going on in the district, in the town, how she would address staff burnout, and how she would address the challenges our students are facing besides their regular classroom challenges, because we're here to educate our students, right? But if they come to school and they don't feel safe, or they don't feel like they belong, or they're not getting the supports that they need, they're not able to access the curriculum. They're not able to learn. We're not able to do our jobs. So all of those other factors really play a strong role in how our district operates. And so it was really important for me to hear from you how you were planning on addressing all of those issues. So thank you. Next. Kelly? Anyone? Okay.
I'm happy to speak. Sorry. Logistics. You know, I had a lot of time to reflect on this, and I appreciated the presentation. We are in a tough moment as a district. There's a lot going on just in terms of financials. I do believe strongly that Mrs. Pruitt is uniquely positioned to understand the challenges that we're facing, the personality and dynamics of our district. And I was very impressed by her presentation that showed a lot of thoughtfulness to the change that she wishes to bring about, reflecting on the fact that I loved your language on a step forward. I think our district needs time to step forward together and to speak in a unified and act in a unified way. So I am supportive.
Anyone else want to, Lauren?
Everyone who was not part of the committee or part of the school committee does not know, but Mrs. Pruitt brought forth something like 9 recommendations from colleagues, parents, students, educators, and police chief, the senator. I mean, like Dr. Cabral, like everyone. And it was so impressive. And I was so proud to read them because reading it, but I've also seen it. So I've seen all that leadership in action, and I've seen the heart and the care and the enthusiasm, who hasn't, and for all the other reasons that Kelly and Jackie have already stated, Mrs. Pruitt is so prepared and so ready for this next step in her career, and Easton would be really lucky. So.
Jim, you want to chime in? Or Colleen, whoever wants to jump in?
No, I will. When we started this process, I think my initial reaction was to look for an external candidate. Having gotten to know you, having to watch over the past years, I've been on the school committee, having gotten to know you somewhat behind the scenes as well. It's been really nice to see and affirm that I do believe you're in a unique position to understand Easton where it is today and where you want to bring it. And almost no one else is probably positioned to do that at this moment. So it is very encouraging. So thank you very much.
I just want to say that in the year that I've been on the school committee, I've really gotten to see firsthand your passion and your commitment and your real belief in not only the kids of Easton, but the staff in Easton as well. And I think that's important. So I think Easton's very lucky to have you as a candidate.
Thank you.
So my next question to you all is, do you want to vote tonight? Do you want to wait? How do we feel?
I think I could vote tonight.
Let's do it.
Lately, I felt like we should take a break between votes, but if we would all like to vote tonight, I can do that.
Kelly?
I support voting tonight. I think it enables us to move forward.
Okay. So then I get to make the motion. So I will make a motion to appoint Chrissy Pruitt as the next superintendent of the Easton Public Schools, I'm going to cry, beginning July 1st, 2026, and pending successful contract negotiations. Do I have a second?
Second, Loomis.
Roll call vote.
Prather, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Loomis, yes.
Hamilton, yes.
Garcia, yes.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
I want to thank you all so much for this opportunity. I know that we have a lot of work ahead, but I'm really excited. I'm really excited for this opportunity and to do this together. This is just a remarkable district, and I am honored to be doing this with all of you. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank Dr. Cabral for all her guidance over the past 9 years. She's been instrumental in learning, and thank you so much for everything.
And thank you to the advisory committee. A bunch of you are here tonight. I know some are on Zoom, so I'm glad they're here too. All right, moving on.
Jackie, I will need to leave now. Thank
Okay.
you all.
Thank you, Kelly. Safe travels.
Bye, Kelly.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion of school calendar for 2026, 2027, second reading and possible vote. I know that last time we narrowed it down from 3 options to 2 options. So any changes, Dr. Cabral?
Actually, we have gotten some feedback from staff.
Yep.
Okay.
Carry on. Moment.
And so if she's prepared right now.
Yeah, let me just pull up. Let me just pull up just to get the final numbers. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay. So I sent out a survey to staff asking for their feedback on the calendar and the 2 versions that you had selected at the last meeting, and I had 150 responses, and I only put it out a few days ago. So the fact that I got so many responses in such a short time, I didn't do it over vacation. In retrospect, looking back, I probably should have, but that's okay. 150 responses. The 63.3% would like to start August 31st. Staff starting August 31st.
Okay.
And 36.7% would like staff to start September 1st.
What was that last one? 33?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, it's 63.3% would like to start August 31st. Staff start August 31st, and grades 1 through 12 start September 1st. And 36.7% would like the staff first start date to be September 1st, and grades 1 through 12 to be September 2nd.
So that would mean the majority of the staff prefer
Option 3.
Option 3.
Correct. I think potentially the snowstorm may have influenced.
I was just going to say, I wonder if we asked this in January, if it would be any different. I don't disagree. But.
The other feedback is that I asked about the PK through 12 fall conferences, and 72% of staff said that it didn't matter if they were on the same day or not. There were 26 staff members that said yes to have them on the same day. 16 staff members said no, don't have them on the same day. But the others said it didn't matter one way or the other. I did speak with all the principals, and they said that if we had them on the same day, they would prefer to have it when sorry, I don't have the calendar up in front of me. The November 19th and 20th would be the dates that they prefer to have the conferences.
Okay, so so this is for November?
Yes.
Okay, so for November right now, we have them on the 12th and 11th, 12th, and 11th, 12th, and 13th?
The 12th and 13th are PK through 8, and the 19th is 9 through 12.
Okay,
And
that's the same on both calendars right now?
Correct.
Okay, and so...
And if that were to change, the principals are suggesting, and this has to do with the high school when their terms end, they are suggesting the 19th and the 20th. They also think that having 12th and 13th with that Wednesday holiday might be difficult for families. So that was influential in suggesting the 19th and 20th as well.
So we would get rid of the conferences on the 12th and the 13th?
Correct.
And they would all be on the 19th and the 20th?
Yes.
And that would be for both calendars?
Yes.
Okay, what do you guys think?
I actually think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lauren?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to note one thing, that the reason why we did have conferences all on the same day one year,
Yeah.
and we did get some complaints from parents. So I just want to note that. that this communication didn't go out.
Staff who are parents, sorry.
No, and parents.
No, it was
Parents.
parents, and I remember it because they had to do all the schools at once.
Right.
One to another.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is interesting, because if you have a second grader and a fifth grader and a eighth grader, you're still doing 3 schools in the same day. So that's interesting. Like, it's still the same.
I think the high school, the difference is at the high school, there's so many teachers and it's a very strict timeline.
Yes.
Right,
yes.
speed dating.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Is
that's
Zoom
the
still
challenge.
an option at
It
the high
is.
school, though, for those 5-minute?
Yes. Yep. What did you say?
It's like speed dating.
Yeah, speed dating, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what to do. I mean, don't leave it up to, what do you recommend? what's the
Again,
recommendation?
when talking with the principals, it really didn't matter. It's just we tried to accommodate, make that accommodation one year, and if we go back, we can take more data and see how many are affected by that.
Okay.
If you want to try it again, going back to all in 1 week.
So we could, I think going to calendar number 3, since the majority of the staff would prefer that would make sense.
Another thing to note is that I know Kelly Percio's concern was about how oftentimes some of the high school students might watch elementary students during that time. The high school conferences are just on the 19th. They are not on the 20th, so they will still have that issue on the 20th, that the high school students
Oh.
are not
Yeah.
released early on that day.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
I don't know.
Okay, so it would be the 11th, which is a Wednesday,
that
would
have
be
off.
no school because
Yeah.
of Veterans Day. Then we'd have Thursday, Friday, full day. And then the next following week, it would be Thursday, Friday, half day.
Mhm.
Except for high school, would just be Thursday, half day.
Correct.
And then the next week is Thanksgiving.
Mhm. That's why it's nicknamed No School
No school
November.
November, right.
So, let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know which is better.
And then the other option is no school on a Wednesday, and then half-day Thursday, Friday.
Right.
Which is really difficult for working families.
Right,
Yeah, that's what Kelly was saying.
which is what our principals had said as well in the
Yeah.
feedback.
All right, so should we try to go back to just the 19th and the 20th?
If it doesn't work, we can always switch it the next year
Okay.
and maybe seek feedback from families.
Yep,
Okay.
we can do a survey.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to approve calendar 3 with the change that the conferences will be only on the 19th and the 20th. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Second, Loomis.
Roll call vote.
Crowther, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Loomis, yes.
Hamilton, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. We're going to go back to the minutes. So, thank you all for coming. The first are the regular minutes of January 7th, 2026. Any questions or corrections? No? All right, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of January 7th, 2026.
Crowther, second.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Crowther second. Roll call vote.
Crowther, yes.
Watson, yes.
Loomis, yes.
Hamilton, yes.
Next are the minutes of January 22nd, 2026. Any questions or corrections? All right, I will take a motion to approve the minutes of January 22nd, 2026.
So moved, Loomis.
Second.
Crowther, second.
Roll call vote.
Crowther, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Loomis, yes.
Hamilton, yes.
Okay. So that's that. All messed up because we went out of order. Schedule of payments. We signed warrant 062S, 064S, 067S. Public comment. Once again, if any members of the public here in person wish to make a comment, please raise your hand and you will be invited to do so. Please state your name and address for the record. All remarks should be addressed to the full committee through the chair. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to state their comment, and we will allow for a total of 15 minutes for public comment. The public comment period is not a time for debate or for the school committee to respond to those comments. We welcome you to email us any questions or additional comments. Any public comment? None. Okay. Superintendent notes?
Thank you. A few things. So we have hammered through the budget for next year. Director Spagna and I will be presenting this to the budget subcommittee first and getting any feedback that might be helpful. So again, we really appreciate the opportunity to work with the budget subcommittee. And then we will be presenting it at the school committee meeting on March 12th. That will be an opportunity. It will be published as the budget hearing for the Easton Public Schools. That gets published, and people are notified that that is a fully open meeting. And then per the past practice of the school committee, what we like to do is give the opportunity for a few days to pass. And so on March 16th, there will be a school committee vote on whether to pass that budget or not. That will make it possible for this budget to go forward to the town for their planning purposes at their meeting, which is March 23rd.
Thank you.
Questions about that? Okay. We are at a point where we are balanced for next year. And again, no anticipated reductions at this point. Of course, we have 6 bargaining units and a few independent contracts like transportation, which is one of our largest contracts that isn't, we don't yet know what that's going to be. It's just going out for bid now. So as we know, the budget is always moving and we'll make adjustments as we have to, but that's where we're at this point.
And during the hearing, what we've done in the past is we've allowed people to come and ask questions, and we have a question and answer session.
Absolutely, yes. Yep, it's an actual back and forth kind of public hearing, which is why it's posted that way. And it's done annually that way, and it's a good opportunity for people to come and ask questions. There is a lot of information on the website between the PACE website, ours, and the town. We certainly would encourage people to look at that first. Just like town meeting, it's difficult to come when it's completed and ask questions about process, which of course we will also explain. So if people have between now and then, please feel free to reach out to us because we can answer questions before then as well. That might help people generate some inquiries they might have at the night of the hearing. The next item, my glasses back. The next item is I really want to, again, that you can't do it enough times, really shout out to our DPW and our custodial and maintenance staffs, as well as Tody Kopaz, our Director of Finance and Operations, who worked literally around the clock. This was a huge endeavor. I had years ago posted something online about the process for calling a snow day, which as a kid I thought was the greatest thing ever. It's a little different now, but there are a lot of things that go into it. I'll repost that on our website for people that might be curious, but there are just so many things that go into it, whether a school has electricity, where the electricity is in the town, if our Richardson Olmsted School is being used as a shelter or a warming house, if there's just so many elements that we have to put safety first. And if kids are having difficulty getting to bus stops or buses are having difficulty making turns and loops, it can be very problematic. I will say, not that I had low expectations for today, but things went a lot better than I anticipated. And that was through the preparation. Lucini, Michelle, our dispatcher that works with Lucini, we met with her on campus yesterday. She had the buses out actually following the routes. She provided list of priority pinch points and intersections that we requested the DPW focus on, which they did. All of those things, there's just so many gears to this operation that they really needed to work together well, and they did. And I'm just so thankful to so many people, including the parents and families that had patience. Something we talk about quite often that not everybody thinks about, but when students are out of school for a week, a lot of times we'll see students come back and they can be very dysregulated by that absence from their normal routine. And so being out for almost 2 weeks was very concerning to us. We do have children who get the majority of their meals in our schools. We do have children that have the bulk of their medications in our schools because they get them during the school day. We have children that get mental health counseling and meet with their counselors when they're in school. These are things that are very important, and we don't want kids to miss out on. So we worked very hard to get them back, which isn't to say that the schools that aren't back yet aren't working hard, but we have different situations. I have a colleague that had a roof that had too much of a weight on it. Other colleagues that had only one school in the district that had power. So when people look and wonder why districts do things differently, it has a lot to do with the power in the town, the power in the school, like I said, what's used as shelters. I did use, some people had asked me why they didn't hear my voice this time when I called. It actually was a male voice. That is actually something I want to point out as part of our Parent Square program. That allows every single family in town to get the message in their home language. So if you are a native Spanish speaker, for example, that message came through in Spanish, as long as you've identified that with us.
So cool.
I don't know the 60 languages that are spoken in the Easton Public Schools, and so that allows for quick, accurate communication to all of our families. So that's why it's automated now, and that's something that we're really thrilled that we have in place, that we've been working on for a long time. The leadership team, I also want to thank the entire leadership team chipped in, and I was able to yesterday bring lunch over to the DPW staff and to our custodians and maintenance and really thank them for their work. I did go to Bill's Pizza to get it, and they were so accommodating and helpful to me, loading my car and helping me with, they donated soda. I didn't even ask for soda. They donated soda. That was going to be my next stop. So I just want to shout out to Bill's Pizza as well. They have always been great to the school department, and again, they didn't disappoint yesterday. So things like this really require a massive team effort, and the team came through. Even though some people make use of social media or Parent Square, we still, for example, want to make sure that people are able to see it on media outlets as well. Wherever people consume their information, we want them to be able to get it easily. And Vanessa was on call, and every single day when I called her, she called she went in, put in our password, contacted all the news stations, just all the things that people don't really think about, and I know I'm not naming everything. So I just want to thank the community effort that it took to bring people back and to see our kiddos in the schools. They do love it. Yes, of course, every child loves a school day, but it can be a little long after a week and a half. And probably the seniors who don't have to make up days were the most disappointed, but that's a senior thing, and that's okay. You're welcome. You got 5 extra days so far, so that's enough, I think. So again, if I've forgotten to mention anything, I am extremely grateful. I'll make sure I reach out to you. And finally, I just want to thank my 9-year partner, my work wife, my left hand in all of the things that we've been doing. I remember the day that I interviewed her at a picnic table across the street from 50 Oliver Street when we were there. And so I agree what she said about consistency in a district is so important. The average sort of lifespan for a superintendent in any one place is 3 to 5 years. And, there are a lot of reasons for that. And this leadership team, I can't imagine
anybody wanting to work with anybody else. This staff is second to none. Our students, families, and our community partners. I mean, this is like the best case scenario. So it's going to be a lot of hard work. I know that you're ready for it. We've talked about this an awful lot. I also want to congratulate her, because I know she's going to pass her defense very easily, on being Dr. We've been calling her Da for a while, as she's been kind of going through, and then docked, and now she's like Doctor, and we're almost there, and we're going to get it. You know, some people downplay degrees like that, but I think, I'm sure Chrissy will verify this, and has been talking about it an awful lot. The amount of research that you do, the amount of work with other districts that you do, the amount of networking that you do, it's really very helpful, and it's very useful to a job like this. And so, you know, we kind of talked about her path and when she should start it, and when her kids were at a certain age. We're both moms, and so we had those conversations as well. I hope I'm not talking
No, you're fine.
too personally about
you're
things,
good.
but it's been sort of a long time coming, and so you know, we all didn't know if the vote was going to be tonight, but I think we're all like, that the vote was tonight, and we know, and we can move forward, and we can collaborate, and we can transition, and all of those things, because it's really, really important for the people in the district to feel a sense of consistency for what they love and what's important, and an excitement for change that is also on the horizon. And so I think, I know that Easton is going to be in great hands going forward, and I congratulate Dr. Pruitt.
Dr. Chrissy.
And look forward to that dissertation celebration as well.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have.
Assistant Superintendent notes?
I think I'm good. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I have one thing. Just before vacation went out, we did release our school report cards that we received through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So those did go home to families. So I just wanted to alert you to all of that, that we, the report cards went out. It sees where we fall within the state. Some of the data that was shared in those reports actually was highlighted in our MCAS presentation. But if anyone has any questions about the report cards, feel free to reach out to your building administrator, or I'd be happy to answer anything as well. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. School committee notes, Colleen?
So I just also need to echo Dr. Cabral and give a huge shout out to DPW in Easton. Our streets have looked great for the last couple of days. I mean, it's been passable, and literally the second that you drive past the sign that says, "Thanks for visiting Easton," like the road's completely changed. And if you've been to any of the surrounding, I'm not disparaging them, but like we did an amazing job. It's been a crazy blizzard. It's been a ton of snow. So many districts are out for the week. I mean, I think most of Rhode Island is out for the entire week, and just the lack of power and all of the things Dr. Cabral said. So huge shout out to them, and obviously to all of our custodians for getting the campuses themselves ready, because that's an insane amount of work. It's backbreaking work, it's exhausting, and it's cold. So I want to give them a huge shout out as well, and just a huge congratulations to you.
Lauren?
So I also want to thank DPW and Mr. Kopaz and the custodian staff and the maintenance staff and the administrative team, who I know was working hard behind the scenes to make sure that everyone else was getting everything else done to make this happen so we could all get back to school. I also want to congratulate Chrissy. Why do I always start to cry? I'm so excited, and I look forward to what's next for our district. But none of this really could have happened without Dr. Cabral and the amazing work that you've done. We're all really lucky.
Now we're all going to cry. Thank you.
It's true. I've never in my life met someone that has more integrity and is just a workhorse of a human being. And you're just, I'm so grateful that I know you and that I can call you my friend and that you've led this district and we're in such a better place than we ever, ever, ever could have been if it wasn't for you. And I'm sure there's so much more I can say, but no one wants to hear me cry. So I'm grateful. I wish you I know you still have so much more exciting things ahead of you, and I can't wait to see all that happen.
You get to follow that.
Yeah, all right. First, I do want to say thank you again, reiterate to both the DPW and the school teams. I think Colleen said it best. You go one town over, you leave Easton, you can see the difference in the roads. Congratulations, Mrs. Pruitt. It's really exciting. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
And the only other update I have is we have a budget subcommittee meeting tomorrow at 4 for anyone interested. It's technically an open meeting, so we'll be there.
Naming getting rescheduled.
Naming TBD. It was supposed to be this past Monday, but I don't think anyone wanted to come here in the storm, so.
We're in trouble now.
Yeah.
So I just have a couple of things. Also to thank the DPW custodians, maintenance staff, Tony, and our administrators for getting everyone back to school and our sidewalks cleared and our roads cleared and so ready for summer. But thank you to them. I also wanted to let you know that there are 3 finalists for the town administrator: Jonathan Better, or JB, William Chenard, and Elizabeth Dennehy. They will be interviewing with the select board on Monday, and the select board will be voting. So we will have a new town administrator next week, which is very exciting. So I'm going to try not to get upset about those too, but I'm really excited for you. I've loved working with you over the past 9 years, and I look forward to our future working together. And I can't even start talking about you because I will totally fall apart. We'll deal with that when you're leaving. I'm not ready for that yet. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. So right now I'm going to make a motion to enter into executive session, not to return to open session, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy session and preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the EEA, Units A and C. And in my opinion, having this discussion in open session would be detrimental to the bargaining position of the school committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Crowther, yes.
Wiseman, yes.
Lewis, yes.
Hamilton, yes.
Thank you all. Thank you all for sticking around. Have a good night.
Thank you.